There are stories that look simple on the surface, but carry within them the weight of entire civilizations. George Orwell's Animal Farm is one such story. Written in the midst of the 20th century, in the shadow of war and revolution, it disguises itself as a fable about farm animals. But beneath the surface, it is one of the most powerful and chilling explorations of power, corruption, and the betrayal of ideals ever written. The story begins at Manor Farm, where the animals live under the rule of Mr. Jones, a farmer who is careless, cruel, and neglectful. The animals are hungry, overworked, and oppressed. They long for freedom, for dignity, for a life where their labour benefits themselves rather than their human master. One night, old Major, a wise and respected pig, gathers the animals and delivers a speech that will ignite a revolution. He tells them of a dream, of a world where animals live free from human tyranny, where all animals are equal, and where they control their own destiny. The animals are inspired. They sing, they chant, they begin to believe in a new order. And when old Major dies, his vision becomes the foundation for rebellion. The pigs, who are the smartest of the animals, take charge. They develop a philosophy they call animalism. Its commandments are simple, its message clear. All animals are equal. The dream of freedom begins to feel within reach. When Mr. Jones neglects to feed the animals, their patience breaks. United in fury, they drive him from the farm. Manor Farm becomes Animal Farm. The animals are ecstatic. For the first time in their lives, they believe they are free. They set to work with enthusiasm, convinced that every bit of labour they give now is for themselves, for their collective future, not for a human overlord. At first, the new society seems to thrive. The animals work hard, but with pride. They write the 7 commandments of animalism on the barn wall, with the most sacred being, all animals are equal. The pigs, particularly Snowball and Napoleon, take leadership roles. Snowball is energetic, visionary, eager to spread education and innovation. Napoleon is quieter, more cunning, more calculating, but quickly cracks begin to show. The pigs begin to assume privileges. They keep the best food for themselves, claiming they need it for their brain work. They take charge of decision-making, saying it is too complex for the other animals. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the principles of animalism start to shift. The rivalry between Snowball and Napoleon comes to a head when Snowball proposes the building of a windmill, a grand project that would bring energy, progress, and comfort to the farm. The animals are excited, but Napoleon opposes it. At a decisive meeting, Snowball makes an impassioned speech. But Napoleon calls forth his secret weapon, a pack of loyal dogs he has secretly trained. They chase Snowball from the farm, and from that moment, Napoleon seizes absolute power. From here, the dream of animalism begins to decay. The commandments on the barn wall change. What was once, no animal shall sleep in a bed, becomes, no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. What was once, no animal shall drink alcohol, becomes, no animal shall drink alcohol to excess. Each principle is bent, twisted, rewritten, and always the pigs justify it. The animals work harder than ever, often hungry and exhausted. Yet whenever they doubt, whenever they grumble, Squealer, the propaganda pig, assures them that things are better than before, that production has increased, that sacrifices are necessary. Lies become truth, truth becomes lies, and the animals, too tired and uneducated to resist, accept it. Snowball, though exiled, becomes the scapegoat for every failure. When the windmill collapses in a storm, Napoleon declares it was sabotaged by Snowball. When food is scarce, it is Snowball's fault. The animals begin to fear him like a ghost, though most never see him again. Through this fear, Napoleon consolidates his power. As time passes, Napoleon becomes indistinguishable from the tyrants the animals once overthrew. He moves into the farmhouse, he sleeps in a bed, he drinks alcohol, he walks on 2 legs. And the ultimate betrayal comes when the sacred commandment is revealed in its new form. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. This is the heart of Orwell's warning. Revolutions begin with ideals of equality and justice, but power has a way of corrupting those who hold it. The oppressed become the oppressors. The liberators become the tyrants. The dream of freedom becomes another form of chains. By the end of the novel, the animals look through the window of the farmhouse and see the pigs dining with humans. They look from pig to man, and from man to pig, and they can no longer tell the difference. The line between oppressor and oppressed has vanished. The cycle of tyranny is complete. What makes Animal Farm so powerful is its simplicity. On the surface, it is about animals, but in reality, it is about us. It is about the Russian Revolution, about Stalin's rise, about how noble ideals were twisted into dictatorship, but it is also about every society, every time, every place where power corrupts and corruption destroys. Psychologically, the novel reveals how propaganda, fear, and fatigue can break the will of a population. The animals are not stupid, but they are overwhelmed, manipulated, and conditioned. They want to believe in the dream, even as it dies before their eyes. They cling to hope because the alternative, admitting betrayal, is too painful to bear. And this is why Animal Farm endures, because it is not just a warning about one revolution or one dictator. It is a timeless mirror showing how fragile freedom is, how easily truth can be bent, and how quickly dreams can be stolen. The tragedy of Animal Farm is not only that the animals are betrayed by the pigs, it is that they betray themselves, by refusing to question, by accepting lies, by surrendering their power. The most chilling part is not Napoleon's cruelty, but the silence of the animals who let it happen. By the time the story ends, the animals are no better off than they were under Mr. Jones. In fact, in many ways, they are worse. Their labour is harder, their rations smaller, their voice is silenced. The promise of equality has turned into the reality of oppression. And yet they are told, again and again, that they are free. This is Orwell's final, devastating insight, that tyranny can survive not only through violence, but through language, through propaganda, through the reshaping of memory itself. When lies are repeated enough, when history is rewritten enough, when fear is powerful enough, people or animals can be made to accept anything. And so Animal Farm is not just a story, it is a warning about power, about corruption, about the dangers of forgetting that freedom must be guarded, not just won. Its lesson is as urgent today as it was when Orwell first wrote it, because whenever we see injustice, whenever we hear the twisting of truth, whenever we notice that some are treated as more equal than others, we are living in the shadow of Animal Farm.